Chief Lawrence, you've been in Chief of Police now for about a year here in Lincoln, and congratulations.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure it's been an interesting experience. Today we'd like to talk about the situation with illegal drugs and the trafficking that many people seem to think is quite common here in the Lincoln area. A problem that we have that seems to be growing. How would you assess the illegal drug situation in general in the Lincoln area today?
Well, I compare the Lincoln area to any community in the country. I mean, every community in this country has a drug problem, and we've been fighting the war on drugs in this country for what, 40 years or so, and I'll be honest with you, I don't believe we've made a dent in the war on drugs. So Lincoln's no different than any other community in this country. And so what we look at it is, have we made a dent in Lincoln? There's drugs in Lincoln. All I can tell you is for the last 11 months, we've taken a three-pronged approach with the drug situation in Lincoln, and that is enforcement, education, and treatment. What I mean by that, as you've seen some of the headlines, is we've gone ahead and developed sources of information that have led to search warrants, that have led to arrest here in Lincoln. It probably wasn't done too much in the past, but I think based on my years' experience in police work and with the team I have now, we was able to get that accomplished. Along with that, we also have gone to the schools, both the junior high and the high school, and have done bath salt presentations and illegal drug awareness and presentations. We've also done this for parent groups and other organizations here in Lincoln, and that's the education component. And then we do believe that to go along with this three-pronged approach, we have to offer treatment and direct people into the right phases of treatment. And other than that, that's the only way that I'm aware of on how we can attack this drug problem. Will we eliminate drugs in Lincoln? I doubt that. And you know, as we're talking today, there's information that I can't divulge that we're continuing to work on the drug problem here in Lincoln, and will be. Will I see an elimination of drugs in Lincoln? Highly unlikely, but it won't be as prominent maybe as it has been in the past.
A number of people, and you touched on this just briefly about some of the arrests, a lot of people are saying that there's not much deterrent to drug dealers and drug users in the Lincoln area because of, for one, the lenient sentences that seem to be handed down by our judicial system. What do you see as a deterrent to this type of activity in Lincoln?
Well, this is where the treatment part comes in, because, you know, people who are hooked on drugs, so to speak, they will do things normally that most people wouldn't do because of feeding their habits. So a deterrent is not what they're thinking about. They're thinking about getting their next fix. They're thinking about their next high. They're not thinking about getting arrested. They're not thinking about going to jail, and they don't care if they go to the jail. So really, jail's not a deterrent. Rehab, some form of drug rehab, actually needs to be part of that component, because they'll do whatever they have to fill their needs. And that's why you can see burglaries increase, other property crimes increase in particular areas, just not Lincoln, because people will do things they wouldn't normally do to feed their habits. That's why some will steal from their parents, they'll steal from their grandparents. Sometimes those go unreported because they don't want to turn in a relative. But that person's just trying to fuel their habits, and that's all they're thinking about. They're not thinking about the punishments. They're not thinking about consequences of what they're doing.
Talking about schools, and of course a lot of the people are interested in the children and the young people growing up. How far into our schools have illegal drugs infiltrated? Are they in the junior high level, the high school level?
Small amounts in the high school level, small amounts in the junior high level. Of course, bath salts being the most popular known drug recently that's hit in the media, has not been found in the junior high, and just been a small count in the high school level. The biggest users of bath salts in most areas in this country, along with the Lincoln area, is actually the middle-aged group.
Okay, that would be older teenagers and
Oh,
20s?
no, the middle age group, people between 30 and 50.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Hmm. That's surprising. Why do you think that is?
I think from what we've seen here in Lincoln and what we're learning about the drug each day is that the bath salt users basically come from people who've been using drugs for a long period of time. And when bath salts first came out, it was a legal substance and it was cheap. It was a similar high of cocaine times 10. So they got a great high legal substance that was cheap. And so your cocaine users and heroin users obviously went to this legal substance. So we found the dynamics to be a drug user over a period of time, switching over the bath salts for those reasons.
Many TV shows and movies these days, and have been for the last 30, 40 years, tend to glamorize the drug use, say, from the 1960s era and that type of thing. How is the drug use and the drugs themselves different today from that period, say, 40 years ago, 45 years ago? Are they the same? Are they worse?
Well, typically, I think TV is not a true accurate picture of somebody in the drug world. Even people who sell drugs generally are people who are living day to day trying to feed their own habits. They live in extremely poor conditions. They're not rich. They're not wealthy. They live in extremely poor conditions. So if people knew the real life of a drug dealer per se, it's not a glamorous life.
A number of people today are reconsidering the legalization or illegalization of marijuana, considering that many feel that the war on drugs that has been going on since probably Lyndon Johnson was president has not been fairly successful. Are you in favor, or would you favor legalizing marijuana?
No.
No. If not, why?
Because right now it's still a federal crime. It's still a state crime, and I really, my position is I get paid to enforce the law, so I don't have an opinion in that matter.
There have been a number of drug arrests, which we mentioned earlier in the Lincoln area since you've become chief about a year or so ago. Do you think they have had any effect on drug trafficking and usage in our area?
Yeah. In fact, I'm not saying it stopped, but I know some of the individuals that have been targeted have moved out of the Lincoln to surrounding areas that don't have law enforcement or local law enforcement. And then those who are still around have been a lot more cautious in their dealings here in Lincoln because of that, but they have not stopped.
What illegal drugs or drug scares you the most, and why?
Bath salts, because bath salts has 10 times the potency, and let me talk about bath salts for a second. Most drugs and even alcohol filter through your kidney system and will leave your body. Bath salts actually will shut down your kidney system and stay in your system for a long period of time. Along with the use of bath salts is generally the person has hallucinogenic effects for days on end. They don't sleep for anywhere from 7 to 10 days. They're not eating for 7 to 10 days. So the effects on the body are actually tremendous, where they could actually cause death. And it takes very small amounts to achieve this type of condition with bath salts. Bath salts also is the most addictive drug out there on the market right now, and that's even compared to cocaine and heroin. And the hallucinogenics are usually people's manifested worst nightmares. So their high basically is their worst nightmares are coming true to them, and that's where the bizarre behavior comes in. So anybody who's on bath salts exhibits bizarre behavior and just does not act a norm. And this has become dangerous for even law enforcement when we approach people who are currently on bath salts, because they won't see us as a police officer. They see us as their worst nightmare. We could be the boogeyman trying to come after them. Some of these people are even armed and have been armed in the Lincoln area when we've had some confrontations in the past. And that's why I think it's the most dangerous drug right now in the market.
What can the average citizen do to help combat drug trafficking here in Lincoln?
What's been great for us, and people don't realize that, the success we've had in solving crime in Lincoln, along with the the drug arrest we made is other people have come forward. So just like we're talking about, we've gone out and developed relationships, and people are starting to trust members of the police department. So they're calling us and giving us information. Just not along with that is when people give you information, they want to see something done with that information. They want to see some sort of action taken. So people have experienced that here in the last few months in Lincoln. So when they see that, it brings in more calls to the police department with more intelligence information coming our way. And then we may know who's doing all the drugs, we may know where our drug houses are, but people must remember that we have a constitution that we have to uphold, and just because we know about the drug activity in the house, there are certain laws that we must follow, such as the Fourth Amendment, before we can actually take action. But as more information comes to us, and that's what a citizen can do, is keep calling us and giving us information and be our eyes and ears for us. And people need to realize this is just it's a community problem. It's not a police problem. It's not a school problem. It's a parent problem. We all need to be involved. And we're still all looking for the same thing, and that's to have the best quality of life possible in our community.